welcome to all the attendees and the panelists. We start with our session now. We are also delighted that we have some good faculties also joining for this session. So the session would be primarily conducted by Jayashree Patel ma'am. She is the principal at GD Goenka Public School, Indore. Okay. And she's a Delhi University trained and qualified psychologist. Her interest and training in psychology and education helps her to understand each individual student's qualities and the background. And she firmly believes that each child has a potential to excel in their lives. Over the years, she has interacted with many parents and helped them in their parenting challenges and guided them to nurture the individual qualities of the child. So, counseled, taught, and she has mentored more than 2,000 students as a teacher, HOD psychology, career counselor, boarding house head, and the principal in different schools over a span of 25 years. As an international education consultant, she has traveled the US, Canada, Switzerland, and UK, and has visited over 30 universities and established important contacts with many admission directors. She has closely worked with top international schools in Switzerland and promote international education also, and like that. So we are extremely honored to have you, Jayashree ma'am, as a panelist, and I'm looking forward to a great session with you being there, and with other panelists, ma'am would be interacting and ma'am would be coordinating them. Next panelist, we have Neeta Pandey ma'am. She did her schooling from St. Mary's Convent and Intermediate College, Allahabad. She is a postgraduate in political science from Allahabad University and B.Ed from DAVV Indore. She has been in teaching social sciences and political science for the last 27 years. For her distinguished works, she has also been conferred with Teaching Excellence Award in the category of Star Curriculum and Training by S. Chand Publications in New Delhi. Meenal Gadre ma'am is another. We are honored to have you, Neeta ma'am, as our panelist. Meenal Gadre ma'am is another panelist here. And she is an educator of psychology. She specializes in clinical psychology. She is postgraduate diploma in guidance and counseling. She is also a diploma in early childhood care and education. She is B.Ed and she is in teaching for last 14 years. Shweta Kalia ma'am is another panelist. She is working with Queen's College here in Indore for past 7.5 years. Also worked with hospitals, and she is graduate with psychology honors from GCG, Chandigarh, and she did her master's in psychology from DAV, Chandigarh. She has been, for the last 10 years, she has been counseling children and parents. So it is just our honor to have Kalia ma'am and Meenal Gadre ma'am, both of you as our panelists. Now we have three very special students also with us. And one is Raj Sahu. He's pursuing his graduation in history from Hindu College, Delhi University. And Raj is a very avid reader and is a published poet as well. He is alumnus of Chaitram School, Manik Bagh Road, Indore. And he has completed his high schooling from Humanities Stream and has a very, very wonderful class 12th result. And he had been guiding children also to perform well. He's aiming to join civil services and is ardent debater and quizzer himself. Raj, it is good to have you here, and I'm sure that the attendees would be benefited by your presence out here. We have next is Prachi Bhatia. She has completed her class 12th as an arts student. She has completed her Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and Philosophy as her majors from Hindu College, Mumbai. She is currently pursuing Masters in Arts in Clinical Psychology from DAVV Indore, and she is interning with Mental Health and Wellness Center in Indore as well. So she has a practical as well as theoretical knowledge, Prachi. So nice to have you with us. And then we are also joined with Kashish Sandhu. She is joining us from Melbourne, Australia. She is a student there in University of Melbourne, studying in Masters in Marketing Communications. She did her undergraduation in communication and media, English literature and psychology from Christ University, Bangalore. She is passionate about communication and media and has done few internships in the field in India and abroad. So her experience in India and in Australia, where she is right now, would help us, and she would be giving her perspective about the communications field, how the humanities stream can lead you there. So without taking much of the time of the panelists, such a distinguished panel we have, I hand over the proceedings further to Jayashree ma'am, and Jayashree ma'am will further take over the proceedings. Thank you, ma'am. Please, it's your platform now. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to be here amongst all you students, all the ambitious humanities students or wanting to aspire the stream of humanities. It's very interesting, you know, if I tell you, I was in Delhi, and when I did my schooling in Delhi, it was in the 1980s that we were offered humanities as a stream with a whole lot of subjects. And it was absolutely wonderful to study humanities even then. Lot of things about humanities are, you know, still questionable till now. Big cities are doing extremely well in this sphere, and we have to get the small cities to understand the relevance and importance of humanities. And so I will begin. I have a small presentation from you, and I will invite the panelists as and when I. So what is humanities? What are in fact humanities? Of a lot of subjects, and what is its scope in present world? So when we think of commerce or when we think of science, we are very sure what it means. When we're thinking of commerce, we usually think of business, trade, banks, investment. Science is very specific with computers, with engineering, you know, scientists, and physics. However, with humanities, it's more, you know, people don't know. Study. So, audible to everybody. There's a little disturbance in the technology. Just do audible to everyone. Okay. So what is humanities? You know, how people process and document the human experience. So humanities, as the name suggests, is the study of humans. Humans in different contexts, humans in different areas, in fields, and what is it they have done, and how do we process that information, and how do we document that information in different subjects and in different faculty. So that is what is humanities. You know, for example, in history, we study humans in how the humans were in the past and how their behavior affected the present. In psychology, we study about their mind and their behavior. Sociology, we study the communities. Languages, we study specifically about a particular, you know, human language in specific area. So all these different subjects essentially study about humans. So psychology, sociology, home science, study of ancient and modern languages. They are all literature, philosophy, history, archaeology, anthropology, human geography, law, politics, religion, art, everything is humanities. So I'll begin with, you know, history, psychology, political science. Sorry, before that. The domain of social sciences, humanities, you know, when we think of humanities, basically basically sciences and few other subjects. Now, social sciences as a field is really dynamic and is evolving. There's a lot of things that is happening in the social sciences area. The world today is coming close, and to help integrating all the businesses, communities, nations, one needs to have skills which are multifaceted and find multiple applications. So to learn to think creatively and critically, to reason and ask questions, and design and deliver holistic solutions. That is what the humanities prepares you to do. So there's a lot of now, especially there's a lot of emphasis on practical learning versus theoretical learning. I remember in Delhi University long back, it was all theoretical learning, but now the humanities courses have evolved much more, and a lot of practical learning is also imbibed within the course itself. So the graduates of humanities have unique skills, and these skills find strong preference in the job market. So the job market now requires skills that a humanities students can bring on board as compared to a science student or a commerce student. There are a lot of myths and stereotypes about humanities. And this is where I would like to invite Prachi to speak about a little. Prachi, over to you.
Hi. Hello, everyone. This is Prachi. So I had humanities, I started studying the subject 6 years back. Even 6 years back, there was still a stigma attached to this subject. But then I started off, I always wanted to become a doctor. So I started off by taking PCB in the start, and I took it for 2 weeks. I studied it for 2 weeks. I even went to coaching that child. I was like, no, I want to become a doctor. But then that didn't work out. I'm a student, but not that much. So then I decided to take up humanities, and it had psychology. So psychology is somewhat related to the medical field. It's a pseudo-medical field. So I thought, why not? I should go for this. Ours was the first batch in Satyasai. I am a Satyasai pass out. Ours was the first batch that, we had to ask our principal to get the subject because we didn't want to leave the school and we wanted to study it. And that's how it came. So when I shifted from science to arts, humanities, I had to listen so much, and all the students in my school, they were like, science se arts mein kaun jata hai? Science kahan hai, arts kahan hai? Why have you shifted? Itna degrade kyun ho gayi hai? And then it disturbed me so much because according to me, I did not degrade to the level. We have this misconception has been formed everywhere that, science is at the top, commerce is in the middle, and arts is it's for the people who don't study well. And I was an above average student in school. So I always used to get nice marks. Even some teachers were like, why have you taken arts? So there's still this stigma attached, but I feel that humanities, when you take up this subject, you learn a lot of, you have a lot of insight, you learn a lot of social skills and practical skills that you can apply. Because humanities is a subject that does not, when I also took it, I didn't have only psychology in mind. I had a variety of subjects that they teach in humanities, from economics, English, political science, psychology, entrepreneurship. We had a pool of subjects, and it all dwells to one direction, that is the human nature, and a study about humans. In economics and all the other areas of our life, that the social areas and the economic areas, when we study these subjects, we can understand the importance and the part that people play, the contribution that people have in these sectors. We are not able to realize it until we read about it. So humanities gives us the perspective of knowing about what contributions people have around the world that we live in. And especially humanities as a subject, we are humans, and to us, subjects like literature, art, visual arts, all these are going to be a part of our nature, and we will always need them. So it's not like humanities is not an important subject. It is important. Secondly, it is always thought of as, something which is the most useless degree. People think that arts degree is not very important. You are not going to get job prospects, or you're not going to earn so much once you complete these degrees. But these are all just myths. Once you finally get into the field, You get to learn so much about yourself. You get to learn so much about the world. And ultimately, when you study everything, all those subjects, I don't think the prospective job matters that much. You are obviously we all get jobs, but these are not particular desk jobs that we do. In humanities, there are various areas where we can start working. So yeah, these were the myths that I personally faced in school when I changed the subject.
All right. So moving ahead, as Prachi says, yes, there are a lot of about whether one should take humanities or not, and a lot of question marks. But it will be really, I would say that all the change makers, all the leaders in the world, they all come from the humanities background. At that point of time, they have studied humanities when no one studied humanities, and they became those leaders. So yes, humanities people tread a different path, and that is why they are unique people of leadership. So here, I would just like to add a piece by Kalika. She is the principal researcher, Microsoft Research Lab in Bengaluru. And, with technology, what she says is that as technology becomes more pervasive and human-centric, professionals with expertise in social sciences are needed to understand how it is best used by individuals and societies. So basically, while you may be excellent at all your computer science and other technology, it is important to know people. It is important to know how human beings, interact with technology, and therefore, big tech companies like Microsoft, they want people from the humanities background. Now, coming to different subject and its scope of humanities in different careers, history, psychology, political science, and law. I'll just read out a few, different career areas in these subjects. If you study history, these are the possible careers you can take, and I'm sure there are much more. Archivist, lecturer, analyst, lobbyist, philosophy also, which Prachi will talk about in a little while. Psychology, counselors, research analysts, clinical psychologists, child psychologists, human resource specialists, lecturer, professors, life coaches, career counselors, substance abuse counselors, family therapists, forensic psychologists. These are all the different areas that psychology can lead you to. Political science, international relations, and diplomatic services. Diplomatic specialist, or you work with different world organizations like World Bank, then the United Nations, World Health Organization, etc. Research assistant and political analyst. And of course, law is also another, and political science and the other subjects prepares you well. So what do you do with law? You can become a corporate counsel or an Indian legal services and legal publishing and media services. Law schools, specialization area of work from different options like tax law, property rights, international human rights, civil law, criminal law, etc. So these are just a career list that I'm reading out to you. Now, the real experience and what it is, I'm going to invite. So, Raj, I would like you to pitch in and talk about history and the literature a little bit. Are you there, Raj?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so starting with my personal experiences, am I audible to everyone, first of all?
Yes, you are.
Yes, okay, ma'am. So starting with my personal experience, I was a studious child in my school till 10th. I was being a topper. So people used to think about that there is a stereotype in among people that science and commerce are the only streams for the topper being reserved. But it is not. You should understand that aptitude matters a lot. And I find that I have an aptitude in history and literature when I started studying them deeply in class 9, 10th, and in further classes. So to talk about history, it is very important to note that history has many career aspects which you need to understand. Like, for example, as ma'am said already, you can go for archivist, you can go for lecturer, analyst, and lobbyist. And even people who are interested in research in areas like mythology, in areas like study of civilizations, study of culture, dynasties, you can go for research in these fields through history. Also, you can work as a helper for your column writings, for editorials in various esteemed publishing houses, in various esteemed newspapers. Then if you are earning a degree in history, so you can go for research in one of the prestigious institute in India, that is the Indian Council of Historical Research. It is the leading research organization which facilitate students who are interested in history to choose over these research fields. Then also important is that history is important for you to understand your past. As one of the greatest historians, George Sainara, once said that those who do not read history are condemned to repeat it. So people who don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past, they should learn from history. So it is also useful in civil services, as you as being a civil servant, you might need to frame policies by keeping the concern and the understanding of the basic parts of the your cadre or your appointed region. And also you will learn that what mistakes people committed in past, so you will not going to repeat those mistakes. Then also important is that intelligent bureaus and agencies across India, they used to hire historians. They used to hire them to write the histories of various moments and events, and they used to pay in handsome salaries to these historians. Also important is that history also used to signify various events and related activities, related events regarding historical buildings, then according to battleground. Then also important is that history, if you are making a career in history, you would going to enjoy as being an archivist. To tell more about archivist, as many of my juniors do want to understand this basic feature, that what are the archivists. So archivist is someone who maintain records of historical evidences. So if you are interested to maintain these records, you can do through catalogs and exhibitions. So they are in various institutions. There is undergraduate degree in history or in preserving archives. There are special courses in preserving archives. So if you are interested to preserve ancient manuscripts, even you are interested in preserving inscriptions, so you can go for archivist. Also important is the heritage manager. Nowadays, as a tourism is getting more and more importance, you can go for heritage management also. Heritage manager is a person who like to manage heritage structure like monuments and memorials. I don't know many of you have heard about various organizations related to this, like Archaeological Survey of India is doing this. Then Intech, that is the Intech organization, is also doing this. So they are also private platform for pursuing this career. So if you are being an MA in history, if you are pursuing your post graduation, and after completion of it, you can go for also for heritage manager. Also important is if you are interested in museumology, that is so you can go for museum director as well. A museum director has many people and many staff to explain about the artifacts and antique items related to museum. Also important the history related to those artifacts and the interesting fact related to those artifacts. So you can also deliver exhibitions there. You can also show exhibition, deliver lectures. So it is also important. As ma'am said already, that leaders mostly who are in India, they are from humanities background. So if you want to become a politician, you want to become leader, especially need to know history, because the history is something which makes a nation. A nation and its people have their shared history. They have a common past. So if you are aware of your past, then you are well organized to to control your people, to lead your people. So for politician, you can also go for history. Also important, as I said earlier, is civil service officer, because history has a good chunk in civil services syllabus. Also important that you can take history as an optional subject in UPSC examination for the post of IPS, IS and IFS officers. Then history also deals with journalism. As you have seen while watching news and the daily television, there are many concurrent topics that need the knowledge of history while displaying them. So if you are well versed in history, you will go for a journalist. Also, you can deliver a speech, a writing. So, and even you can connect these history aspects with current affairs. So history has many such aspects. Also important is that if you want to pursue your career in library sciences, you can go for history, because library has many historical books, many tomes of history, so you can collect them and you can enjoy them there. Also important is that you can pursue career as lawyer, especially. It's not always necessary that you go for CLAT and pursue 5 years integrated course as BLLB. You can also do it with history. Many of my peers in my college, they are pursuing their degree in history, and now after their undergraduation, they would go for a degree in law. So it is also important. So you can understand, like, actually historians are also good lawyers. Even if you pursue history, you would know that historians used to debate among various aspects of history. So historians are also lawyers, and lawyers are also historians somewhere. So it is also good if you want to pursue your career in law, you can take history. And then if you are interested in the most noble profession, that is teaching, so you can go for history teacher. You can pursue your PhD in order to become a college professor, or even if you want to impart your knowledge in history in schools, you can go there. There is a green signal for that. Also very important is the fields, the unexplored fields like archaeology, the epigraphy, fields like numismatics. So I want to explain that archaeologists need to have a sound knowledge regarding history and geography, because they need to carry out excavations around various historical sites. So if you want to go in history, you can go for archaeology also. Also important is epigraphy. Epigraphy is basically the study of inscriptions. So if you are a linguist also, as I will come later about language and literature part, you can go with history and you can pursue your career in epigraphy. Also important is if you are interested in ancient currency and coins, so you can pursue your career in numismatics also. So the basic thing which need in all these arenas is the well knowledge of history. So history will do for it. Now coming to the aspects of language and literature courses, I would suggest that most of the people in India, they would pursue courses in literature for languages like English, Hindi and Urdu. Basically I found these people so in a huge number. So if for talking about English literature, it is very important that if you are pursuing your courses in English literature, if you have a major degree in English, you can go for social media manager. Like people, big companies and eminent companies want to hire professionals and who are well versed in English to promote their organization, to promote their products, to make policies and to make orders for their products. So you can go as a social media managers too. Second thing, if you want to pursue for history, then for English literature, you can go for a technical writer. Here it is in very demand that people used to write for technology and technical aspects, like the review of a product or review of a service. So it is a very simple way to deal with English in this matter, because they are searching for well versed English speakers, and in India it is very much available. So you can go for technical writer also. Also important is that language and literature will lead you to public relations specialist also. Because how you can go for public relations specialist? You can give your articles in magazine. You can generate your the knowledge, so employment opportunities for magazine in future, for newspaper. So you, when you will write about public relations in those magazines, those newspaper, you would need a sound knowledge about literature and language, along with, if you are going with political science, history, so it would be an icing over cake. So, and also important that you can pursue law after pursuing your undergraduation in history, because lawyer and attorney having critical skills, you will get critical skills from language and literature. You will read. Also, lawyers compose memos, legal documentation, and courtroom arguments. So, if you are well versed in English, you can go for it also. Also important that if you are want to become poet, if you want to become writer, so literature is the best option for you. You need to write and develop your writing skills in order to become a much esteemed writer, much eminent writer. And you should inculcate yourself, you should involve yourself in more and more competitions organizing around country for that. Various organization also doing, like Sahitya Sabha also doing with that. You can go for write org for that. There are many organizations such as which will help you for developing your career aspects in history, in English literature as a writer. Also, you can develop your career aspect as librarian while doing English literature, because libraries contain various tomes and various books for English literature as well. Because if you are you become librarian, you can impart your knowledge and your reading skills to people or to students who want to come in library and want to study, and you can review as many as book you want to review, and your reviews would matter because you have already studied it in your graduation courses, and so on and so forth. And like you can also become an editor and content manager, because they seek English graduates also to write about the concurrent topics, the burning topics of the days. So you can become editor and content manager. Also important that you can teach English in schools as second languages, because English is now becoming a thumb for jobs for the students and for the people. So you need to understand. Yeah, you need to understand the basic knowledge of English to get a job. So if you want to teach English as a second language, here you can go with this degree. Also, you can become a fundraiser. You can work with various NGOs. You can work with various NGOs like Milap, Keto. So you will going to develop this. So I would now impart for other aspects like for psychology. Ma'am, Mike, now it is for you. Jayashree, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Raj. That is a whole lot of information on how history and literature can take you to different places. So basically what I understand is that the basic skills that you learn in these subjects can be transferred in many different fields. So
Yes,
it is important to find out what is it that your niche is and which field you want to get into. So thank you so much, Raj, for your wonderful information. And now I move towards psychology as a course. I think we begin first with Shweta ma'am. Is Shweta there?
Yes, ma'am.
So Shweta is going to talk about the scope and approaches of psychology, approaches to psychology. Over to you, Shweta.
Thank you so much, Jayashree ma'am. So before starting or talking about approaches to psychology, let me just tell you that what is psychology. Psychology is all about the human behavior as well as the animal behavior. Now moving, when we talk about branches, that means that when I'm investing my time, I'm going to invest my money in a particular course, so I should know what is the scope. So believe me that when I explain you and when Meenal ma'am is going to share the courses and the colleges, you will come to know that their psychology is almost everywhere, because the principles that we develop or study in psychology, they are everywhere. They are connected to each and every discipline of life. In day-to-day life also we use psychology. So moving to the first branch of psychology, that is the cognitive psychology.
In cognitive psychology, we almost study about all the thinking processes, doing, learning, your reasoning, your problem solving, and also we connect the cognitive with the computer. And when we talk about computer, so there we talk, the first thing that comes to our mind is information processing. So same as with cognitive psychology, we encode, we process the information, and then we try to analyze and then decode it or to send the output of it. Now moving to the next branch, that is biological psychology. When I teach students, a very common question comes, that is, ma'am, why do we study bio in psychology? So it is very important if we want to understand the psychological reactions of our body. It is very important that we also understand the physiological or the physical reactions of the body. So that is why in biological psychology we focus on the mind, your neurotransmitters, your hormones, and your endocrine system. All these are there. Now, moving to a very important branch of psychology, that is neuropsychology, and many of you can take it up to become neuropsychologists if you are doing have taken up psychology as a subject in your studies and taking forward in your grad and in your master. So neuropsychology, if I take you back to the movie, that is Munna Bhai MBBS, a word which was used commonly by Sanjay Dutt in that movie was chemical locha. He used to use it frequently, and that is the word which is there in our life also. Chemical locha in the sciences is the neurotransmitters. These neurotransmitters are the chemical substances which are present in our mind and brain, and if they handle a lot of processes within us, and if there is an imbalance of these neurotransmitters, we can end up having the malfunctioning or the mental illness issues or the abnormality. So as a career option, you can also become a neuropsychologist. Moving to the next approach, that is the developmental psychology. It is one of my favorite because in this we study about the lifespan of a individual starting from the prenatal stage. The prenatal stage is when the child comes in the womb of the mother. So from there, the development of an individual starts. In developmental psychology, we study about the different stages that an individual passes, that is your prenatal, infancy, childhood, adolescence, young adulthood, and old age. The main focus that we do are on the two, all are important, but the two stages which are important to focus on are the adolescent and the old age. This is what I believe, because when an individual is passing through these stages of life, the individual has most of the needs in these two stages which need to be catered to. The person needs to be listened to. Now, moving to the next, that is your social psychology. Let's take the example of the pandemic that is right now we all are undergoing and we've been affected with. So, there is a term that has come forward, social distancing. When we heard of COVID-19, along with that, a term came, social distancing. Already we were distancing when we go out with our families and all. At home also, if you must have observed, many of us are sitting together but using the mobile phones. Now this term social distancing has come forward. So as a social psychologist, I would be studying about the reactions or the impact of this social distancing or the social environment which it has on the human's behavior. That is about your social psychology. Moving to cross-cultural and cultural psychology. When I talk about culture, so many of us over here are from different cultures. Moving to your cross-culture, if I talk about India, so when I ask you about Indians, so the first thing that comes to our mind that they're very easily bonding with others, they are very good hosts. Moving to Japan, if we talk, so they are very hardworking people. Moving to USA, they are individualistic. So this is what we basically try to understand, and you can also master and research and have a career in cross-culture or cultural psychology, where you try to understand the impact of the culture on the behavior of a person. Moving to the next, that is environmental psychology. Similarly, like what psychology and bio has to do, many question arises that what psychology has to do. Psychology plays a very important role when it comes to environment. If I talk about the humid and the hot climate, I asked few of you to go and take a round in a big ground. So what will happen? Many of you will very quickly and very efficiently take the round and come back. When I ask you to take the second round and it is scratching hot outside, what will happen? After the 10 steps or maybe the halfway through, you will feel exhausted, drained out because of the heat that is there. So this is what happens, the arousal is there, palpitations are there, you have shorten of breath because of running, there is lot. So what happens, my performance level is going down. This is how the environment we study. As an environmental psychologist, I research about the environmental impacts on the human behavior or the humans. Moving to the next, that is health psychology. When we go to the hospitals, I am, for example, diagnosed with a very serious kind of disease, maybe the life threatening one. What happens? There is a team of doctors to assist me, there is a team of nursing staff, there is a team of surgeons, but along with them, there are psychologists who are there, because with the disease that I have, along with that, I also have a lot of stress and anxiety, apprehensions. So to encounter them or to bring me back to calmness, there comes the role of the psychologists who are there to help and take the care of my health. Moving next, that is your educational psychologist. You can also have a career in the educational field, where the main part is one is research, like Jayashree ma'am has also shared with us that you can become a research analyst, or the main focus is on the learning processes, that how I can work for the betterment of the learning processes, how I can help people. Then there are special education need children who need special educators. In India, we need a lot of psychologists and special educators to support the people, to support the children. So it is another career option that you can go in for. Moving to next, that is your sports psychology. Now, how sports is related to psychology? Let's take the example of the Indian team, and let me take Sachin Tendulkar, as we maximum of our fan of Sachin Tendulkar. So let us take example that he is going to play the match for India or a World Cup, where he has to lead the whole team. Not only his performance, he has to take care of the team performance, and at the same time he has to try his best to get the trophy back to India. So there is the role of the sports psychologist, that when the team player is going, he has lot of stress, anxiety, apprehensions, to bring that team player to calmness, to composedness, and to get the best performance of the sports person. The sports psychologists are there. This is one small example I've given, but a lot can be done in the sports psychology also. Moving to the most important, that is community. When we talk about community service, so many of us think that just going and donating certain clothes to the orphans and all, this is, I have done community service. No, that is community services when you get with the marginalized strata of the society, or you work, help somebody by being there with that person throughout, making sure that that person is empowered. So there is also an important role of the community psychologist who help the people to deal with the political, environmental, social, all these scenarios, and help them to work upon the empowerment. Moving to next, that is your organizational and your industrial psychology. These are highly paid jobs. Others are also there, but if you master in your organization and industrial psychology, you get placed with good MNCs. The role of organizational psychologist is, one is you can with psychology you can take up the management courses. You can have a beautiful career as a HR in the HR department. Then you can become a trainer in the organization. There are many trainers which are required. Then you can also, the role of the organization psychologist is to help the organization as well as the workers to get release of the work stress that they are facing. Moving to next, there are two more that I'll be discussing, that is forensic psychology. Now, forensic psychology is about your psychology and law, where you can become a criminal psychologist. You can work with people who are for rehabilitation of these people. You work for in the selection of the jury. These are few, but this is again a vast area where you can explore your career. Moving to the next, that is paranormal or the parapsychology. Many of you must have seen those Hollywood movies, paranormal activities. So people in real life also encounter, because as a person, I believe if there is good in the world, so there is bad also. So when we talk about paranormal activities, those people who encounter has a lot of stress, and they have recurrent episodes of that. So there comes the role of the paranormal psychologist, where you can explore your career. Now moving to the last part, that is clinical and counseling. You must be thinking that why I did not take it up, because when I was a student like you, for me psychology, and for many of us psychology means a clinical psychologist or a counselor. So we feel that it is only two options that I have, but now the light that have thrown on different approaches, you must have understood that there are many different areas, and like I said, that psychology is present everywhere. It is part of your life. From the day you start to the day that ends, psychology is there with you. So moving on to clinical, you can become a clinical psychologist. The role of the clinical...
Shweta, I'd like to interrupt here.
Yes, ma'am.
I think Prachi can talk more about the clinical and counseling part, as she will be doing the course.
Sure, ma'am. I'll just give a small piece of advice to the students.
Yeah, please.
Okay, thank you. So Prachi is going to talk about the clinical and counseling. A small advice that I really want to give to all the students who are present here, that don't base your career, or don't be very quick in taking decisions about your career. Look into the options, explore, find out, and work on your passion, what you are passionate about. There are few things I would request, and don't focus on them when you think of your career: the gender, the socioeconomic status, the religion, the culture, the peer pressure through which we all basically are deciding, many of us. So please avoid that and go for your passions. Be passionate, have beautiful careers, and go for what calling in life would you follow. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you so much, Shweta, for that detailed analysis of different fields of psychology. And I quickly move to the next panelist. And I request all the panelists to please keep your piece to 5 minutes. I know we all are very passionate about our subjects, and we like to go on and on. So just for everyone to pitch in, and we look at different options with humanities, please, it's my request. Meenal ma'am quickly will tell about the courses in psychology in colleges and universities. Over to you, Meenal.
Good evening to one and all present here. Thank you, Jayashree ma'am. Students, I would like to tell you, something about your career, your colleges. How to plan your college. See, we all are talking about career options. We are talking about subjects. We are giving you idea about the subjects, their scopes. Okay, so how to plan your college admission. Okay, See, students, they choose, college, essentially, they choose their future. What they see in their college, they see that college should give them good education, college should develop their personality, or a college should be there in their resume throughout their life. Okay, so what are the steps? There are two steps, beta. First step is to subject selection. If you are a 10th grader, you need to select subject for your class 11th and 12th. Okay, and if you are in class 12th grader, you need to select subjects for your undergrad program. Okay, if you are a graduate student studying in any college, you need to plan about your post graduation program. Okay, so ultimately, what do we see? We see that a college should give us a good education and should be able to develop our personalities. अब the question comes here is how we plan. See, we all are confused here कि how to plan a college. What are the options available in India? What to do? See, there are two things you need to remember. First thing is you need to plan yourself properly. Second thing is you need to know yourself. See, then we talk about how do you know yourself. You need to know your own hobbies, your own choices, your interests, your personality traits, your aptitude, your skills, your abilities. You need to know everything. If you do not know about yourself, then it will be difficult for you to choose a subject and a college and career for yourself. Okay, if you're confused, then you need to get your psychological assessment done. So you need to know everything about yourself. Once you do will know everything about yourself, then you will be able to choose appropriate career for yourself, option for yourself. Second thing is planning. As Shweta ma'am has said, that you need to know, explore everything. If you think that a particular subject is good for you, if you think that you want to pursue career in that particular subject, then try to gather information about that subject and try to see the colleges, which all colleges are there, what courses they offer. You need to develop this. Okay, see, what happens is when we think about college admission, we actually get confused. We become dependent on internet, we talk to friends, we talk to relatives, and at the end we are not able to take decision about our own self, our own career. Fine. So what you have to do is you have to first decide about the subject. If you are a 10th grader, I want to tell you, beta, what all subjects school offer, for humanities. So you can take psychology, economics, sociology, political science, history, and other subjects. Fine. If you want to study these subjects in undergrad program, you have to select college. Fine. uh, I'll just show you what the career options are available for humanities. Fine. Just okay. So you can see these are the options available: civil services, law, journalism and mass communication, learning languages also can be an option, psychology as a career subject, history as a career subject, economics, pol science, sociology and anthropology can be a good option for yourself. And now, you see how you will select your college. First thing is you need to decide whether you want to study in government college or in private college. Okay, see, the admission criteria vary from college to college. If you want to study from government college, see, there are different career criterias. For example, see, see, uh, if you want to study from government college, see, criteria is, I told you already, criteria is different. if you want to study from private college, criteria is different. See, government college, they actually uh,
Mini ma'am, you're not audible. Jayashree ma'am, we can proceed with someone else right now.
Yeah, sure. I think we can proceed with somebody else because.
In the meantime, ma'am can fix up the issue.
All right. So I think Prachi can also talk about psychology since we are doing that. It's become too long with psychology. So let's quickly ask Prachi to also talk about psychology.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. So there's a difference between clinical psychology and normal counselors. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are. Yes, you
Okay.
are.
Yeah. So basically, there is a difference between counselors and clinical psychologists. Clinical psychologists deal with the disorders that people have. So we diagnose. Okay. So clinical psychologists basically deal with the disorders that different people have. So disorders like anxiety, depression, or schizophrenia. People come to us and people, they share that the problems that they are facing or the things with they're not able to, sometimes when these people are facing disorders, they are not able to continue with the normal functioning in their lives. And that's when they share all these symptoms and problems with us. In clinical psychology, we specifically study what are the symptoms of these disorders, how to treat the disorder. In counseling, there are basic counseling skills that we have that we also learn in clinical psychology. But in basic counseling, you don't specifically have to study about the symptoms and treatments of certain disorders. So when we study clinical psychology, there are different manuals, and such as the DSM, which is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Disorders, which has a set of certain criteria and diagnosis. And then we can refer to that and form a diagnosis. Diagnosis is what we think the person has, the disorder that we think the person has, related to the symptoms that the person shared with us. So a clinical psychologist basically decides, makes a diagnosis, and then gives the treatment for that. So that's the work of a clinical psychologist.
Would you also like to talk a little bit about philosophy,
Yeah,
Prachi?
sure. Yes, ma'am. So in my bachelor's, we had to choose 3 subjects to form a subject combination. So I had philosophy, psychology, and political science. I didn't know that philosophy, like I was always a very curious person, I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of whys about life, about certain things, how things work, how the world works, and why is certain thing like this? Why is it not like that? So I didn't know that. I just took philosophy up for that reason, nothing else. But then when I started studying it, I could actually correlate philosophy with psychology, and then I realized the importance that it has. So philosophy actually had a lot of claims about human behavior and nature way before psychology started speaking about. So philosophy is an earlier field, and psychology came later. So there's a crossroad between those fields. So we can have certain, derivations that we get in psychology from philosophy. We have certain roots of psychology in philosophy. Philosophy basically talks about the questions, it talks about morals, it talks about human nature. It has certain truths that it talks about. And it, dwells us to think. And when we think, we get a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us, which is very important for a psychologist because we always need to be self-aware. Once we have this deep understanding of ourselves and we are self-aware about ourselves and the world around us, we can treat the people who come to us with a greater empathy. Because empathy is the most important thing that we need to have in this field of psychology. And once we get a deeper understanding of everything around us, we become more empathetic and we can understand situations much better. So this philosophy and psychology combination turned out to be pretty well for me, because all those questions and continuous, thoughts that I had in my head keep getting cleared. And, like I said, the deeper understanding that you get helps you a lot to, become self-aware as a psychologist. And we continuously need to learn. We keep growing. There is endless learning in this field. And I think philosophy puts an emphasis on this learning, this continuous learning. So it helped me to do that. So yes, it's a great combination. If you have an option and you want to go in this field, clubbing up philosophy with psychology is a great option. And you can get that in I was in Jai Hind College, Mumbai, where that is one college where you can get this combination if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prachi. That was a wonderful insight. And philosophy, of course, all the great change makers and leaders right from the time of Socrates and, Plato and Hippocrates, all of them, they had something to offer to the world. So philosophy is, the why of everything. Yeah. And it helps you to broaden your mind and to help you think beyond. And it is definitely a very, very important subject to study, especially in your, when you are combining it with psychology or even any other subject. I think it's a great subject to study. Yes, so thank you so much, Prachi. And now, Neeta ma'am.
Jayashree ma'am, can I continue now?
Yes, okay, you're back.
Because if I close my video, then audio will be clear.
All right. Please do.
Okay, so I was talking about the colleges, government colleges and private colleges. Candidates see, I have already told you that admission criteria vary from college to college. If you're planning to apply in government college, then the criteria is you should actually have 12th or equivalent education from state and national education board in India, and even open school board like NIOS are also eligible, and the criteria is the minimum criteria is 50% in some colleges and 60% in some colleges. But the cutoff is maximum is 95 percentage and plus, okay, and above. So it depends, and they actually give a formal direct admission after your board results are out. Fine. Private colleges, they have a different admission criteria or procedure. Some they take admission test, some group discussion, interviews, and they give weightage to SAT results. So they have a different admission procedure. Fine. So we were talking about planning about college. So first you need to think about, plan about the colleges, whether you want to study in India, study abroad, or study in your own state or own city. Fine. If you are planning to study outside means in other states of India, you need to decide about the city, which city you want to study. If you want to study in Mumbai, then you need to know about the colleges they offer these combination or the subject you would like to study. Okay, if you want to study in Delhi University, if you want to study in Bangalore, in Chennai, in Kolkata, you need to know the colleges and the subjects they offer. Fine. Then we come to this psychology, the career options and the sports and courses in psychology. The psychology courses in India, they are offer graduation, undergraduation, bachelor degree courses in psychology. Some states they offer.
Meenal, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think it's already 5:37. So I would like to bring in other people quickly. Otherwise, it's getting very long. And okay. I'm sure, Mr. Dalmia, we need to have another, session because this is quite lengthy. So let me just move on. Just let me move on to, political science and law. And I'd like to invite Neeta ma'am to speak quickly about it. Okay, thank you, Neeta ma'am. Please come.
Thank you, Jayashree madam. As it is, I was waiting for a long time. See, the thing is, the first thing when the children are in the 10th, after a period of time, they usually come to me and ask, what is there in political science? Why should one take political science in the 11th or the 12th? Well, most of the time I felt that there is a fear among them that whether they will be getting good opportunities if they pursue this subject. This is the foremost thing in the mind of these people, the children. They feel that they are not getting good job opportunities after doing this subject. But my dear children, political science is all about people. It impacts your life directly or indirectly, whether you are aware of it or whether not. And if supposing you are interested in current events, you want to shape the public policy, I think you should go for political science. And you should consider it as your major subject. See, as it is where jobs are concerned, there are now n number of openings that are open for you all. See, I'll go through it. As it is, I'll go through it fast. Please bear with me because time is less. In modern society, a fast-changing world, political system is getting new importance, and many new opportunities are being created in this world. A political science degree holder has a lot of opportunity in terms of employment. For example, you can be a political strategist, political consultant, campaign manager, policy analyst, public relations officer, psephologist. These are all the fields that are open to you in politics. But many of the people don't want to step into this field. But why not? As it is expanding. And there are a number of people like Pranoy Roy is there, GBL Narasimha Rao, Yogendra Yadav. They are some of them who have made a name in this area. And this is an untapped market. Every time elections are taking place, there is a need for political analysts, political advisor, political consultant, for politicians as well as for political parties as well. So the thing is, political science, I'm not saying that it is only meant for the political science students. There are people from the science field, from the engineering field who are into this. But then political scientists are subject experts. And if they take up this field, they can frame political strategy based on reports from social media, public mood, survey reports. Remember Prashant Kishore? He is a well-known political strategist, and he is credited with the campaigns of Prime Minister Modi, Nitish Kumar, and then even for the AAP party and the Congress party. So thereby you have lots of job opportunities there. Apart from this arena, where very few people want to step in, you can become administrators as well. No doubt, many of them have spoken about the IAS exam, that is the UPSC exam, the PSC. You can go for that also, because many of the people who take up this subject, usually the foremost thing that is there in the mind is that I want to become an IAS officer. But then, children, there are other openings as well. As a student, you can take up journalism as well. It is not that. No doubt. With political science, you have to hone a lot of other skills as well. What is the rule here? It is not that only political science is going to show you the way, or you can swim through it and get a very good job. So certain other skills are also required. For example, communication skills are there. But apart from this, you can become you can even start your own NGO. You can become a human welfare officer as well. You can take law as a profession. And as it is, law offers a plethora of career avenues to explore and conquer. See, in all the companies which are there, they need a legal advisor. And there are a number of law firms which are there, which require your services. Everywhere legal people are required. And there also there are a number of jobs. You can give exams, you can become a munsif, you can become a judge in the coming years. I want some of you to do so. As it is, I have got a student who wants to become a political leader. And I was so enthralled by his way of speaking and the desire that he holds dear to his heart. I want him to join politics and become a good political leader, no doubt. And he says that he has taken political science, and after this he wants to go for law, so that it can be a help when he seeks to become a political leader. No doubt it is going to help him. Now there are a number of colleges where you can apply for the political science degree. There are top colleges you can search in the Google as well, like Lady Shri Ram, St. Xavier's College, Madras Christian College, Presidency University, and so on. There are a number of them. You can go through it. JNU, Ramjas College. Like this, there are a number of them which you can join. Again, another important area, another most taught area in political science is international relations. International relations is a perfect choice for those who want to study the different countries, how they are connected, both economically and politically. If they want to pursue their studies here, they want to have an insight into power dynamics that works in the international arena. I think as it is with the MUNs that are there in our country, they are in vogue nowadays. People are now interested, they are attracted towards these subjects, political science and international relationships. And no doubt, if you are you are studying international relations, it is not that you cannot get exciting, you will get many exciting and interesting jobs. You can get jobs in multilateral and intergovernmental organizations. For example, UNDP is there, Asian Development Bank is there, Greenpeace organization is there, UNESCO is there, UNO is there, UNICEF is there. No doubt, you can go here also, or all the international organizations. But children, remember one thing. Your CV has to be very strong. If you are applying for these jobs, you have to have if you want to have an edge over others, then you have to go and develop different skills as well. First of all, communication skills. Then you can do community service as well, which is held high in all these organizations. So if you go for all these languages, etc., you hone these skills as well, you will have an edge over others, and no doubt you can get into these organizations. There are a number of these organizations, like if you there is a job known as China specialist. There is a job known as South African specialist. That is, if you have taken these things in international, you are studying these countries in international relationships, and you want to go further in these studies, no doubt you can become an advisor to the government, because that is needed in today's world. With globalization, we are all interconnected. So we should know what is going on in the other countries. So you can become a specialist in one country, and no doubt you will be called by the government organizations on and off. You can give your views, and you can earn money as well. It is not that you will not get a good package. You will get a good package. Only thing is, children do not, you have to, if you have taken humanities as a subject, you have to hone the other skills as well. That is very important for you. See, there are a number of institutes, even IIT is open for you. For the humanities students, IIT is also open for you. IIM is also there. Bangalore IIM is taking the humanities students as well. So these areas are also open to you. IIT, you can, after your 12th, you can go to IIT, take any subject, international relations is there, politics is there, history is there, and so on. All these subjects, the humanities subjects are also there. You can pursue these subjects as well. Then there is DU, Jadavpur University. There also you can go for international relations. But one thing, if you are going for international relationships, first of all, do your graduation in political science. There are very few institutions which are giving international relations in your graduation. So it is better you go for post-graduation in international relationship and relations, and then no doubt you can go further. Then if you want to study abroad, this international relations, you can go. There it is Stanford University, California, Harvard University, Yale, Columbia, even London School of Economics and Political Science. There also you can go, and thereby you can broaden your knowledge about social and political situations in different regions, and you can analyze them. Now, to crown it all, I would like to highlight that political science is a stream which gives you knowledge of political thought of great political leaders. As just now Prachi was saying, yes, you come to know even here also, political philosophers are also some of the political leaders, like Chanakya was there, Manu was there, Aurobindo was there, B.R. Ambedkar, all these, Locke, Rousseau, Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, all these, they have given immense knowledge about public administration, and we can learn from their writings. And as it is, there are a number of political quotes very valuable, which are very valuable for us, and they give this. They give us a deep knowledge about the importance and understanding of political science are written by these important leaders. For example, Chanakya, and as it is, political science is a subject, not only for career, my dear, not only for career, but in our for our daily life also, we need to have an understanding of political science. I quote चाणक्य, किसी भी देश को बर्बाद करने में सबसे बड़ा योगदान उन युवाओं और पढ़े लिखो विद्वानों लोगों का होता है जो कहते हैं मुझे राजनीति से नफरत है. याद रखना, राजनीति ही किसी देश का भविष्य तय कर सकती है. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neeta ma'am. And I'm sure all the queries about international relations, political science, and law is all clarified now. And the world does need good politicians. So please, students, go ahead and go for international relations, political science, law. It's a very good field in humanities. So coming quickly over to the next slide. Civil services, social work, and sociology. Civil services, I think already we have both the panelists spoke about, so I don't want to go further there. I'll quickly talk about social work and sociology. Sociology is also apparently a subject in humanities. Not many schools offer it, but there's a lot of scope doing sociology. You know, because especially with so many things happening in the community, we need people who understand communities well. And sociology majors usually work in the area of, the policy analysis, being a policy analyst. They can be a guidance counselor for family conflicts, do market research, PR, as well as private and public organizations in the HR department. They can also be, they can also be in the media strategy and a few other fields which are really very well suited for sociology majors. And social work is again an excellent, it's no longer that one has to take a jhola and work in NGOs if you have done social work. You do something like CSR in major MNCs. It's a real job where you put together projects, different projects like building a hospital or, getting people to come, getting children to come to school. Different projects can be done on health awareness. In fact, healthcare sector, rehabilitation center. So social work, sociology is a great sphere to do also. Now, languages and writing, again, Raj had spoken a lot about literature and language. Without reading, I'll quickly invite Kashish from Melbourne. I don't know what time it is there, Kashish, but please join in and give us a little overview of writing.
Yes, ma'am, I'll just keep it very brief. So with the idea of writing and languages, I did my undergrad in English literature, which has really helped me in writing. So for anybody who's looking to pursue a career in writing and specifically in creative writing, you need to first understand that there is no set course that you can take. It is all about your own creative passion and how much you want to explore the discipline. Yes, you can take small courses in creative writing and English literature, which can, of course, aid your writings. However, it is all based upon your creative processes and thought processes. I was reading a lot of comments in the comment sections asking about what kind of subjects should we take, what are the fields of journalism, communications, and media that we should be looking at in 11th and 12th. Well, the answer to that, in my opinion, is that look at the subjects that you are most interested in. When I was in my 11th and 12th, I took up subjects like psychology, political science, economics, and English with entrepreneurship. And these were the set of subjects that I was really interested in. And the moment I got into my undergrad, I started looking up internships online for writing, because that is one scope that students really get into. And with the content creation that is increasing all across the world, you have so many opportunities coming up for writing content, not only for blogs and newspapers, but also for social media. And as ma'am had already shared in a previous few slides, a quote by Miss Bali about how social sciences has interacted with technology. It's not only technology, but like a variety of fields are now heavily borrowing from communications and media, because it is a way to communicate, and every brand and every technology is at the end of the day communicating to humans. And that is how wide the scope of this profession. A few tips that I have learned throughout my time studying my undergrad and also doing my master's in marketing communication specifically is the fact that firstly, explore the field and don't be hesitant. Go out there, start writing stuff, write your own blogs if you're interested in specific subjects. Like I'm very, very interested in politics, and I write a lot about political activism, be it on my Twitter account or my Instagram account. And these are just my sources of letting out my creative spirits. Other than that, also look into writing a few research journals, because as good it is to get practical experience, it is also very nice to build up your academic resume in terms of applying to better colleges and applying to universities after your undergraduate, because that really adds up to your research and your ability as a writer. Other than that, I would just say, like, go out there, start writing. You have so many avenues to explore. It doesn't matter whichever stream you are in. It doesn't matter whatever you're studying, whichever class you are in. If you think that you want to write, start off now, read, explore, and that will really help you like achieve at the end of the day what you're looking for, because you need to start somewhere and gain the exposure that you want. Is there anything else, ma'am, that you would like me to cover? Or
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kashish. I think that was a very direct, practical experience of a student in the sphere of writing, media, communication. And I'm sure many other students will be inspired and move to this specific sphere.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just add one more thing?
Yeah,
I just
sure.
forgot to add it. I was just reading in the comment section as well. There were a lot of questions about journalism and what kind of study that you want to do. Again, coming back to my prior point, journalism is a field that heavily borrows from all the diverse fields that they are there to offer. So just go into it, look at what you want to be a journalist about. There are informative journalists who talk about politics. Then there are very lively journalists who are just entertainment. And then there are reporters. Other than that, like you have fields like writing, advertising, and all of this. These all fields are for writing. And there is no set discipline that they look in your resume. Like you don't have a subject for advertising. It is all about your personal skill and aptitude. So you just need to build it from the very scratch.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think that really covered the writing, media, and journalism.
May I add something to mass communication?
Yes, please.
There is an institution which is Mudra Mass Communication. It's a very good institute. You can do your post-graduation in mass communication for firms. You get a very, you'll get a handsome salary. You get a very good job in these areas, and you can come out with your creativity as well. So that is one thing I wanted to tell the students. Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much. Quickly on arts and design for all you creative artists, painters, art and design also is a great field, and there's a lot of scope in it. From fine arts, commercial arts, and performing arts. Performing artists, many of you who are interested in music, dance, a lot of film and theater companies, they do employ, if you are looking for making your mark in your specific talent. Art studios, advertising companies, publishing houses, printmaking, cartoon design. These are the other places where artists are hired from these fields. And if you mix it with the computer knowledge of graphic design, animation, UX designing, you can become a multimedia artist. Fashion and interior design is another good area where you all can get into. If you really like designing garments and you really like to arrange things in your house, maybe you want to venture out into fashion and interior design. And usually fashion designers work in textile production houses, boutiques, garment export houses, and marketing and media department of fashion brands, etc. Leather design, jewelry design, product design are also areas of design. Now coming to economics and management, which is basically something which you all can do even from humanities. You really don't need to go to commerce. You can study economics. If you want to go in for economics major or economic honors, make sure that you have maths with it. Maths really helps you, especially for economics, because it's a very analytical subject and you require the knowledge of mathematics. So with economics, you can work in banking firms, research firms, financial consultancies, government ministries or insurance and accountancy firms as a risk advisory associate, analyst, research assistant, policymaker, etc. And management. It's a huge area, and in fact, a lot of students are coming from the humanities sphere to get into management. If you want to do management from the humanities sphere, you will excel in areas of HR, sales and marketing, supply chain, logistics, and management consultancy. The other area of management is hotel management, which also students from humanities can move on to. A lot of things happen in the hotels, like front office operations, food and beverage productions, meeting and event operations management, restaurant operations, etc. And as you grow in this field, you get promoted to managerial roles. Then event management for non-NGOs, PR firms, hotel resorts, etc. These days you do need event managers. And in these, your main role would be to plan and organize different events, meetings, weddings, charitable events, press meetings, and so on. So who says that there is no scope for humanities? We were running out of time to explain what humanities has to offer. And everybody had to say so much about their specific field. So one thing is very, very clear, that humanities people from humanities are very passionate people. And, they enjoy what they do. And I think I would say the work-life balance or the job satisfaction is very, very important for people coming from this background. And making a change, making a mark, creating an impact in the society is another area where the humanities students excel. So all of you, I think, Dalmia sir, we should start taking questions. There are a lot of, I'm sure there are a lot of questions.
Lot of questions. Any panelist who could not add on something, or maybe Meenal ma'am got interrupted because of some technical issue. Would she like to complete it, or should we proceed with the...
Sir, namaste once again. I would like to just tell them some colleges of India and abroad.
Okay.
And so it will help them. Okay.
Fine.
So see, today, this Indian National Institute ranking was declared. So according to this list, so if you top 10 colleges of India are, some students they must be knowing, St. Stephen's, Lady Shri Ram College, Loyola Chennai, Xavier's Mumbai, DU colleges of Delhi University, Christ Bangalore, Ferguson Pune. These colleges, they have a very good, psychology departments, and they have a good, departments of humanities. So if students they wish to study humanities subject, they can apply in these colleges and fulfill the criteria. Some colleges of abroad, if they wish to study outside University of Oxford, Harvard University, University of Cambridge, University of California, Stanford University, Yale University, even Princeton, New York University, University of Chicago. These universities are good, and they offer arts and humanities, subjects. For psychology, I would like to tell students that they can pursue undergrad program. Even they can do diploma courses in psychology. They can do certificate course, PG diploma courses. They can pursue post graduation in psychology in some specialized subject, as mentioned by Sweta ma'am. Right. So that's all I would like to tell them, that these colleges are very good. They are good institutes, and if they wish to study, they have to fulfill the criteria. First, they need to know the criteria, and then they have to prepare themselves to study in those colleges. So I wish them all the very best for their future endeavors. Thank you so much.
So the panelists have been answering a lot of questions. I think I could see Kashish and Raj, and they have been responding to the questions coming up there. So there is one question relating to United Nations that probably is left answered. If anyone can have any idea about it. Ma'am, I want to work for a United Nations. So explain clearly how to enter various designation and package. If any of the panelists could have the about it also.
So may I?
Yeah.
Yes, Kashish, go ahead.
Ma'am, so I was just saying, I have worked very closely with the United Nations through a lot of conferences, and I was working for the World Federation of United Nations Association and also the World for Refugees. So my only suggestion is to build a network and get into the United Nations network, because there are a bunch of people that you need to network with to get actually into the field. That's what I've understood, being introduced to people from the UN headquarters as well. And it is all about like your political affiliations and your negotiations and your ability to communicate and network properly with these people. You have entry-level positions available at conferences. For example, the Wyman that happens in New York, you get the opportunity to go to the UN headquarters, and that is an amazing opportunity to actually go up and like interact with people who are actually working for the UN. And other than that, you also have like opportunities with Wafuna and the UN for refugees. Like I used to work for them as a communications intern writing articles. So these are just some opportunities that can help you get into there. And then it's all about your caliber is what I assume and what I've seen.
Wonderful.
Okay, nice. So another question is to study psychology deeply, what is more suitable, humanities or PCB? Means to study biology is also important, or humanities stream is good enough?
I can answer that question. See, for studying psychology, it is, PCM and PCB, PCB and humanities are two different orientations. So if you start with PCB and psychology, you are going deep into the brain and its system and how it affects human behavior. Like Shweta ma'am had told you about neurotransmitters, all that you study in the biology part of psychology. So if you do PCB with psychology, you can pursue a science degree with a psychology in it. A lot of good universities abroad offer that course. So you can get into something like neuropsychology. You can also do, physiological psychology, although this word now nobody uses. It's more neuropsychology and, various biological areas of psychology that you can do. So you can pursue a science degree with psychology. That's a possibility. Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Is there a use of having a degree in some language, say a French or something like that? That is another question. So means a degree course in any particular language.
Yeah, can I answer, sir?
Yeah, please.
Yes, Raj.
Yes, if you are having a degree course in another language other than English or Hindi, you will get opportunity if you are pursuing civil services. If you want to go for foreign services, it would be beneficial for you. If you are going for translation, it would be very beneficial for you. If you are writing in some other aspect, in some other languages like French, German, it would be going to be a best opportunity for you. So and ultimately it will build your resume. It would be good for your curriculum vitae. So go for it.
Okay.
I'd also like to add, like in the international market, look at the languages that are globally spoken. For example, in the Australian market, especially in the Asian Pacific region, Mandarin is one of the most commonly required languages, and it holds a lot of importance if you have that. So look at the languages that are globally spoken and the region that you're looking to work at, and then pursue a language course in that.
Okay, so there's a query is how we can become a journalist. If something like that.
All right. I think first of all, you should be excellent in your writing. You should be an avid reader. You should know what is happening around the world. And if you have all these qualities and you have a natural curiosity towards it and you want to write, you can become a journalist. The college courses are many. At the undergraduate level in India, Xavier has a very good bachelor course in mass media, and you can go and do that at the undergrad level. Otherwise, you can continue studying English or political science or any subject you like, and then move ahead to mass media at your PG level. So PG level is also good for taking mass media. I think Kashish is doing that, isn't it? You started with...
yes, ma'am. I did like a variety. Like I did mass media with English literature and psychology, like a triple majors.
Yeah, so that's...
And I'm doing marketing and media.
Yeah, so they're all... these are all not different kind of, different sets of things. It's all together. They're all blended together. So I would say that if you like all these things, one thing I always tell all my students, even at school, extracurricular activities can really shape up your career. I know marks are important in grade 12. You all should study for the exam and get that percentage so that you can get admission in good universities. But what you will develop as skills would come through all the different extracurricular activities that you do, the debates, the NUN, the dance, the music, the writing, the school magazine, the writing, all these are going to really, really help you.
Okay, ma'am, there is a simple one question more relating to language only. If somebody has studied French till class 8th, is it going to be beneficial or means... Rajesh, you have answered that question. So studying till 8th is somewhat help, or what can be done about it? Means one has to pursue it further, isn't it?
In my experience, as long as you can speak and understand it properly in your communications, and like in certain scenarios, if you're into writing, then actually, of course, write the language, then it's great. So it really depends upon how much you study till your 8th grade. If you think you can fluently understand and communicate, and that's good for it. Otherwise,
I feel that the school text for French prepares you with the grammar and the test and everything. Spoken French is usually not very good with the kind of courses that we have. You should do more spoken courses. That is going to help you. And one has to do the French later. You cannot just do till grade 8 and finish. Maximum you can do is with grade 8. And if you remember at the latest stage, languages at a later stage, then it's all about directions when you go abroad to France or to any other area where French is spoken, at least you can follow the directions. But other than that, I feel you have to pursue it later.
Okay, so if we take this last question, can a student study political science and go for election corporate? Means
Why not?
okay.
Yes, sir, he can.
Okay.
Only
Okay.
thing is you have to have a good communication skills that is required. That is
Okay.
a must.
Okay.
And go for
Okay.
election corporate as well. And so one thing I wanted to add where French was concerned, see, for French studies, higher studies are important. They are giving degree like B grade, degree like they have their levels. And if you have done French in that, then you can also become a French business analyst, which is a requirement for all the MNCs.
Okay.
MNCs also require that. So
Okay.
even a humanities student can have it and then go for becoming a French business analyst.
Okay. 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 So we had a wonderful session, a wide range of topics, and which is such a galaxy of experts as a panelist. So we could cover such a wide area. So humanities is something which is going to be anywhere. That is how the humanities has such a wonderful thing where you can choose any field that you want to get into, opening into management.